Spine-chilling secrets exposed. My sinister client sought haunting horrors in the deep mountains, in the silvery glow of a crescent moon. I found myself driving toward a darkness that loomed like a living creature, hungry and insatiable. Lisa was just a single mother desperate for cash, and my latest assignment as a home care nurse dropped her smack in the middle of terrifying territory, Mr. Thorne's cabin hidden in the shadowed Appalachian Mountains. She felt a shiver ripple down her spine as the twisting road narrowed, overgrown branches clawing at her car, like ghostly fingers begging her to stay away. The night wrapped around her like a suffocating blanket. With every mile, unease churned in her stomach, an instinct yelling at her to turn back. Yet, desperation drowned out that voice. 2 kids depended on her. She swallowed hard. The taste of fear mingled with determination. It was supposed to be easy money, just a few nights. But as she pulled up to the cabin, heart pounding, unease shifted to full-blown terror. Faded newspapers blew along the ground, whispering secrets of local legends, tales of disappearances that had the town shaking its head in hushed reverence. The cabin itself looked like something out of a nightmare. Staggered, worn wood, windows clouded with age. She stepped inside, greeted by shadows that danced along the walls. Mr. Thorne was as twisted as the storybook villains her children feared, his voice gravelly and his movements unsettling. It took all that she had to focus on her duties, despite the weight of unfriendliness that settled over her like a heavy fog. Something wasn't right. For days now, whispers of the hunger haunted her ears, shared among the townsfolk. Warwick and Clara, the kind couple who always seemed to be watching her. Each time she left the cabin after a long night of taking care of Mr. Thorne, their wary glances followed her. Conversation cut short when she neared. Something about their fears seeped into her own heart, sending icy tendrils down her spine. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. One stormy night, as thunder cracked the skies, Lisa found herself alone with Mr. Thorne. His gaze turned fierce and penetrating, as if peering into her very soul. The cabin groaned around her, and for a heartbeat, it felt alive, the wallpaper whispering age-old secrets, and she could almost hear the mountain breathing. A sudden crash of thunder rattled her, forcing her thoughts into panic mode. She needed to leave, but something stopped her, the gnawing need to know the truth. Then, as she pieced together the dark tone of the town's stories, whispers of Mr. Thorne being a part of the mountain's very essence, the realization struck. The weight of history clawed at her mind, sorting through twisted fragments of disappearances, dipping into the haunting legends that rooted in those wilds. Just as she understood the depth of danger surrounding her, the cabin seemed to convulse, shadows flaring with life. Before she could blink, the door slammed shut. A sinister roar shattered the stillness, vibrating through her bones. She stumbled backward, a scream caught in her throat. Something was out there, beyond the walls, an unknown, a darkness ingrained in the whispering trees. As the figure of her once innocuous employer twisted in the shadows, she felt reality warp around her, and she wondered, with a racing heart, just what she had stepped into. Would she survive whatever horror was lurking at the door? The door creaked ominously as it settled back against the frame, leaving Lisa trapped. Panic surged through her, coursing like ice through her veins. Mr. Thorne's laughter echoed, a low, guttural sound that twisted her insides. It was wrong, everything was wrong. This man, this place, the night itself seemed to conspire against her. "Let me out," she shouted, her voice tearing through the air laden with tension. No response. Instead, he stepped closer, shadows bending around him, thick as the storm outside. His face twisted into a grotesque smile, eyes glimmering with something dark, something she couldn't name. With a racing heart, Lisa darted to the window, pounding her fists against the glass. There was no escape. The rain-slicked ground outside churned like a roiling sea, swallowing everything in its reach. Desperation clawed her throat. She turned back, thoughts whirling. What if he was part of the hunger the townsfolk feared? What if this was all a game to him? "Something yes coming," he said, his voice a rough whisper, thick with anticipation. "And it's hungry." Lisa's breath caught in her throat. The journal she found earlier lay warped on the table, filled with frenzied scrawls. Tomes of long-lost souls feeding the mountain. She saw it now, each word etched like a warning. Without thinking, she snatched the notebook and flipped through pages, desperately seeking answers. "Feed it?" Mr. Thorne's grin widened, revealing teeth too sharp. "You think it cares for your frail kind? It wants souls, Lisa. Yours especially." As thunder rumbled again, she understood. Those whispered legends. The lost townsfolk's sacrifices to the cursed rock. A chill crawled over her skin, and she stumbled back, the journal slipping from her hands. Each thud against the wood resonated like a heartbeat. Time seemed to suspend, heavy and thick, as the air around them shifted. Out of the dark, something stirred. A low, rumbling growl that resonated from the bowels of the mountains. Lisa recognized fear reflected in Mr. Thorne's shifting gaze. He was afraid of whatever lurked beyond the cabin. It was alive, and it was coming for her. "Stay away from that door," he hissed, but his voice had lost its edge. She spun, repulsion flooding her senses as the shadows from the corners of the room crept forward. The very walls throbbed with life, vibrating to a primal rhythm that echoed in her bones. The space felt smaller, as though the cabin itself leveraged against her, closing in with predatory intent. "Listen closely, Lisa," he said, urgency merging with dread. "When it arrives, you can't turn your back. You must face it. You have to feed it." Her heart raced with the weight of his words. It was a monster. It wanted more than just life. It craved despair, misery, the very essence of fear and hopelessness. She glanced at him, the twisted horror of the man fading away behind the encroaching shadows. "Why?" she asked, her voice tremulous. "Why should I?" "Because only then can you survive." Before she could press him further, the door thudded as something monstrous slammed against it. A creature born from nightmares, grasping and clawing to get in. Wood splintered, and the walls trembled. The growl crescendoed, a visceral sound sent from the depths of hell. Gripping the edge of the table, she felt her own heartbeat like a drum in her ears. Every breath she took felt heavy with fate as she confronted the dark threat beyond the barrier. "Face it, Lisa." Mr. Thorne's voice cut through the chaos like a blade, desperate. "You have to choose." In that moment, with the woods alive with terror and the cabin buckling under the weight of their fears, she realized survival might come at a cost she wasn't ready to pay. If she didn't take action, the hungry thing outside wouldn't just devour her, it would claim everything she held dear. The door shuddered violently as she stared into the beckoning shadows. What would she choose? And so the question hung heavy in the air, as a sinister whisper danced in her ear, taunting, promising a choice lay ahead. Would she embrace the darkness or find another way to escape? As the cabin's defenses crumbled, she moved toward the door, heart racing with dread. She had to know what lurked in the night. The door fell open, as if giving in to the force of dread that loomed outside. Lisa hesitated, heart pounding like a war drum in her ears. The stench wafting in hit her like a fist wet earth, rot, and something bitterly metallic. She swallowed hard, the taste of bile rising in the back of her throat. "Don't look away," Mr. Thorne shouted, his voice rising above the howling wind. Something stirred just on the edge of the shadows. A form breaking free from the darkness, distorting the wood and stone of the cabin. It emerged slowly, as if savoring the moment, a probe of anticipation inching closer. Each movement sent ripples through the air, making her skin crawl. "What is that?" she gasped, voice quivering as it echoed in the cramped space. "It is hunger made flesh," he whispered, terror etched into his features. It was summoned, unleashed. The figure took shape, massive and grotesque, with twisted limbs that jerked unnaturally. Deep wrinkles and gaping maws lined its sides, twitching as if eager to feed. Lisa's thoughts ran wild. It wasn't merely a creature. It felt alive, a creature of despair, feeding on the torment of lost souls. The growling escalated, vibrating through her bones, wrapping around her heart like a vice. She fought against the overwhelming urge to scream, to flee, every instinct clashing with the primal urge to run. But deep within, A flicker of anger ignited. If it wants a soul, it can come and take it. Don't be foolish. Thorn rasped. It'll twist your offerings into something awful. It'll take everything from you. But she couldn't let fear dictate her fate anymore. If the cabin was a tomb, she'd choose her death. Lisa stepped forward, forcing her voice to remain steady. Then let it come. The creature lunged, its maw wide, dripping with essence that seemed to shimmer like silver. Lisa's heart stuttered in that split second. Shadows danced around her, threatening to consume her whole. She felt the weight of despair gripping her, pulling her into the darkness where light didn't reach. With all her might, she shouted, "I will not feed you. You will not take my soul." The movement halted. For an instant, everything froze. Lisa didn't know if she was imagining it, but she sensed the creature hesitating, as if her refusal had pressed against tangible flesh. The wind picked up, howling mournfully outside, almost mocking her. "Feed it," Thorn urged again, desperation flooding his eyes. "Or it will kill you." The door quaked as the creature writhed anxiously, a low thrumming sound emanating from deep within it. Lisa couldn't see how it could be more monstrous than it already was. She focused her willpower on refusing, fighting against the primal urge to submit. Suddenly, shadows peeled away from the walls, swirling into a vortex, half-formed figures materializing amidst the chaos. Flickering, spectral faces glared at her, silent witnesses of countless sacrifices. The realization hit her like a wave. These were not just mere victims. They were the townsfolk, lost and trapped in that limbo, feeding the great darkness beyond. "What are you doing?" Mr. Thorne pleaded, panic rising in his voice. The growl crescendoed. "Feed me." "Shut up," she yelled, her voice trembling with defiance and terror. It was time to turn the table. She scrambled back into the cabin. The shadows pressed closer, desperate for her breath. "You can be the one to end this." A voice echoed from the depths of the figures. "You can burn it away." "Burn it?" she whispered, the weight of reality crashing over her. She had found firewood stacked thick within the cabin, supplies that could give her time. And how do I ignite a monster? With determination rising in her gut, Lisa fumbled beneath the table until her fingers grasped a matchbox, wooden and worn. Her heart raced. If she could light it and reject the binding, the act of defiance could bridge the gap between suffering and freedom. The growl morphed into a hiss, as if the creature could sense her resolve. She struck the match, flame bursting alive, illuminating the shadows that clawed at her sanity. The moment the seeping firelight met the heavy darkness, flames screamed in delight, igniting a new kind of fear in the creature's eyes. "Feed it, Lisa," she heard Thorne shout again. "Feed it, or burn it." She countered, defiance thickening in her voice. As she approached the creature, heart racing, the shadows pulled behind her, retreating, whispering warnings and threats. Lisa drew closer, the match trembling in her grip. Would she break the cycle, or would she tempt fate? And as the ominous growl shifted into a panicked howl, she prepared to plunge into the darkness, match raised high. What shape would her choice take? Would flames chase shadows from this cursed cabin, or would she succumb to the darker hunger within? The flame flickered in Lisa's trembling hands, casting a ghostly light against the monstrous figure before her. The creature's many eyes narrowed, its growl shifting into a chaotic blend of hunger and fear. Time stretched, a taut elastic band ready to snap. "Do it." A voice among the trapped souls groaned. "You have the power." Lisa's heart raced, pounding in her ears like a relentless drummer. The match crackled as she moved closer, swaying with uncertainty. The creature smelled her fear, its gaping maws quivering as it salivated, desire palpable in the thick air. Shadows swirled in response, swirling about her legs, icy tendrils licking at her skin as if trying to pull her back. "Feed it now." Thorne's voice was frantic, panic thickening the air, making it harder to breathe. "Before it takes you instead." The weight of the decision pressed down on her like an anvil. What if she chose wrong? What if Lisa inhaled deeply, determined to ignore the nagging doubts clawing at her resolve? The trapped souls still watched, their faces twisted in agony, pleading for release. If she failed, they would only suffer longer, and this creature would grow stronger. "Enough," she screamed, voice cracking but fierce. The match burned closer to her fingertips, a heat that threatened to consume her as well. You will not take me." With that fierce declaration, she thrust the match toward the creature. The flame danced hungrily, ready to ignite the darkness around it. For a moment, the fire hesitated, as if considering its enemy before lunging forward. Hungry fire meeting the beast's grotesque form. In an explosion of light and sound, the flame collided with the creature. It recoiled, screeching as flames embraced its dark flesh, burning through its shadowy skin like paper. A foul stench overwhelmed her senses, the overwhelming scent of charred despair rising like smoke. Feet. The creature howled, no longer a whisper of hunger, but a thrumming chorus of agony. It twisted and writhed, limbs flailing as if trying to shake off the consuming fire. But fire only spread, consuming everything it touched. Lisa didn't hesitate. Fueled by the desperate cries of the trapped souls, she dropped the matchbox and lunged for the pile of firewood. Frantic, she grabbed more splinters, thrusting them into the growing flames, the pyre crackling and hissing in delight. The shadows recoiled, thickening against the walls, swirling into a frenzy of confused shapes. Figures writhed amid the darkness, some reaching out, desperate for the fire's warmth. This moment, the light, was a fragile promise, either salvation or destruction. "Burn it all," Thorn shouted, desperation ringing in his voice. And for the first time, his fear hinted at something else. Hope. With shaking hands, she continued feeding the flames, and as the blaze roared higher, the creature's screeches morphed into an anguished wail. The shadows began to cave in on themselves, consumed by the overpowering light. But in that flickering blaze, she saw them clearly now, their faces so familiar, townsfolk she'd known, twisted by torment and despair. "I can end this," she thought, breathing hard, deciding to pull free the chains binding them to the horror. By now, the fire had twisted, darkened, no longer just flames but a vortex of swirling light, battling the very essence of the creature. During that battle, Lisa could hear them clearly, their voices blending into a symphony of whispers. "We are lost. Save us. Fight with me," she shouted into the surreal wreckage, her voice rising above the chaos as she reached into her pocket, where she found the lucky charm her grandmother had given her long ago. "Together, we can burn this away." Suddenly, everything froze. The creature's many eyes widened, filled with a mixture of rage and recognition. The moment stretched, an electric tension crackling through the air. Would it fight back? Would it summon even darker shadows? And in that breathless silence, Lisa felt it. The moment when defiance met dread. It resonated deep within her, a surge of power and hope. But at what cost? What if it devours us all? Thorn's voice broke her focus, an unsettling reminder. Her heart raced, she clutched the charm tighter. "It won," she whispered, but doubts seeded themselves like poison in her thoughts. The creature lunged forward, flame and shadow colliding. She knew this was going to be the defining moment, but how far would she need to go to save herself and the lost souls trapped within this nightmare? And as the light clashed against the darkness, she faced the agonizing question: would this act of courage set them free, or doom them all to feed the dark hunger forever? The heat surged, wrapping around Lisa like a suffocating blanket. Shadows twisted, threatening to engulf her as the creature roared a sound that cut through the chaos like a jagged knife. With a desperate thrust, she launched more wood into the furious flames, her heartbeat echoing in her ears, drowning out everything else. Thorn stumbled backward, eyes wide, as the creature's fiery screams morphed into a cacophony of despair, ripping through the smoky air. "Is it working?" he gasped, glancing at her, his face pale. The flames surged higher, snapping at the beast with voracious intensity. Lisa could see the beast's form deforming, caught between fire and shadow. An arm, a claw dropped to the ground, dissolving into a pool of smoke. "I can feel the souls," she shouted, fueled by the horror around her. "They're fighting, but it's not enough." The faces of the lost townsfolk twisted in agony, their silent screams resonating with her. "We need to join them," she cried, a sudden urgency ripping through her. This was no longer just a fight for survival, it was a chance to save them all. With a trembling breath, she reached deep within, pulling every ounce of strength she had left. The charm in her hands felt pulsating, warm, and alive. The light it emitted was sharp, slicing through the clinging darkness, but with it came an ache in her chest, foreboding and whispering of impending doom. "Fight with me," she screamed again, directing her power into the flame, believing it could consume the beast once and for all. But the creature retaliated, its form morphing into something grotesque. Whole sections of its body fluttered into darkness and back again, revealing glimpses of terrifying shapes, a flicker of screams, of memories woven from despair. Thorn watched, transfixed but horrified. "It's changing," he shouted, panic spilling from him like blood from a wound. "We have to," but Lisa couldn't hear him over the roar of desperation enveloping her. She rushed forward, fueled by their cries, vision narrowing to a singular goal, the creature's heart. She hurled the charm into the flames. The reaction was immediate. A blinding light exploded, casting everything into stark shadows. Lisa stumbled backward, her breath stolen, as a wave of heat surged outward, a shockwave that knocked Thorn off his feet. The light consumed everything, gravitational and chaotic, sucking in shadows like a voracious beast. The creature shrieked, a jarring mixture of rage and terror, as its body tore apart, ooze and smoke spiraling into the blinding brightness. But just as quickly, the light dimmed. The moment lingered, thick with uncertainty, and Lisa was torn between hope and terror. Silence wrapped around them, tense and heavy. She opened her eyes, squinting through the haze, and gasped. The flames had receded, and where the beast had stood was a dark silhouette, confined, twisting, but very much alive. "Is it over?" Thorn's voice trembled, disbelief mingling with relief. But Lisa felt it, the volatile presence lingering in the air, not quite dead, not quite defeated. "No," she whispered, dread pooling in her stomach. She could sense the darkness tightening around them again, drawing closer, hungry for what little light had escaped its grasp. With a chilling realization, she understood the fight was far from over. The creature had retreated but had not been vanquished. It was waiting, biding its time. "Get ready," she shouted, adrenaline surging again. "It's not done with us yet." And just as she braced for the next attack, the shadows twisted, coiling like serpents, and from within, she heard a whisper, a familiar voice, soft yet tainted, a voice she thought she'd never hear again. "Lisa, you can't stop it. You need to join me." The whisper slithered through her mind, piercing her resolve and spreading doubt like blight across her heart. With a scream that echoed through the darkness, she clutched the charm tighter. But would her defiance be enough? Or would the creature's insidious grip pull her down into the abyss alongside those it had claimed? The weight of this decision pressed in around her, a decision that could very well define their fates. With fear tightening its hold, she took a step toward the darkness, uncertain, but unwilling to let fear escape her grasp. Lisa could feel the air thicken around her, like a wild animal poised to pounce. The whisper echoed again, filling her with dread. "Join me." It sounded so familiar, yet so sinister. That soft, coaxing tone carried the weight of memories she had tried so hard to suppress. "Stop," she shouted into the void, but the darkness only chuckled back, a cold, wet sound that sent shivers straight to her bones. Thorn pushed himself up from the ground, his face twisted in confusion. "What are you doing? Don't listen to it." His eyes darted around, searching for something, anything that could help. "We need to get out of here." But Lisa was rooted to the spot. The shadows pulsed, the darkness swirling around, trying to pull her in. She could see faces just out of reach, lost souls crying out for help, their eyes wide with anguish. Her heart raced. Each one was a reminder of what was at stake. "I can't leave them," she rasped. Suddenly, the darkness shifted, and the silhouette transformed into a figure she recognized, her lost sister, Mia. Pale and ethereal, Mia stepped forward, a glimmer of hope crossing her features. "Lisa, you must join us. It's the only way." "No," Lisa screamed, recoiling from the vision that clawed at her sanity. "I want tea." Mia's eyes flashed with something dark that sent terror through Lisa's chest. "You're wrong. You need to embrace it." Stop fighting. Before she could respond, the shadows surged forward. The heat vanished, replaced by a chilling cold that wrapped around her like the grave. Thorn shouted her name, but it sounded distant, muffled by the roaring silence growing in her ears. The fear twisted in her gut, Mixing with anger, she was not ready to succumb. In that darkness, determination spurred her forward. "I won't give in. You're not real," she yelled, throwing her hands out, channeling every ounce of her light into that tiny charm. The glow pulsed yet again, fierce and bright, ripping a hole in the shroud of blackness. But the darkness clawed back. It hissed through the air, and tendrils snaked around her ankles, dragging her down. "Lisa, Lisa," it taunted, mimicking her sister's voice, luring her deeper. The ground shifted beneath her, quaking with ancient malice. Just when hope seemed to slip away, Lisa felt a surge of weight behind her, grounding her. "Thorn," she called, her voice unraveling into the terrifying swell of shadows. "I'm here," he shouted back, rushing forward, the promise of his friendship a shield against the encroaching despair. She caught sight of him, fighting through a flurry of black tendrils to reach her. A bright flicker of light danced in his hands, a broken piece of their world, something resilient, something they could harness together. He grasped her hand. A jolt of energy coursed through her. Together, they stood against the abyss. "We can do this. We just have to stay strong," Thorn yelled, his voice like a lifeline in the dark. The darkness screamed in fury, threatening to engulf them whole. But Lisa squeezed the charm, feeling the warmth radiate through her. With one final effort, they unleashed their combined power. Light burst forth, a blazing shield against the shadows that crowded in. And for a fleeting second, the whispers quieted, the silence almost peaceful. Yet just as hope flared, a dark rumble shook the ground. A new presence slithered from the depths of the shadow. It wasn't just the creature they had fought before. This felt larger, more ancient, as if something truly monstrous had been awakened. "Run," Thorn yelled, pulling Lisa away from the shadows, but she could hear the whispers growing louder, wrapping around her mind. "Lisa, you can't escape. Join us." Her heart raced as the sinister voice wrapped around her like chains, and in that moment, she feared the truth. What if the darkness had already won? As they stumbled back, a monstrous figure clawed its way through the shadows, the air thick with tension and smoke. "What is that?" Thorn gasped, eyes wide with horror. Above the cacophony, that voice whispered again, seductive and terrible. "Run if you can." The weight of the shadows pressed in, making it impossible to breathe, while Lisa locked eyes with Thorn, realizing they were facing something much beyond death, something that had been waiting for them all along. And beyond the shadows, a single bloody smile emerged, revealing a truth that could shatter them all. "Are you ready for the real nightmares to begin?" Lisa's legs felt like lead as Thorn dragged her through the chaos, the echoes of anguish still clinging to her like a second skin. Each frantic heartbeat hammered in her ears. This was no ordinary nightmare. She could feel the monstrous presence behind them, a chaotic force shoving against the boundaries of their escape. "Faster," Thorn urged, his voice cracking under the pressure of terror-infused adrenaline. The darkness roared, mocking their panic with the guttural sounds of something waking from a deep slumber. Lisa shot a look over her shoulder, her stomach dropping as she caught a glimpse of the colossal shape emerging from the shadows. It was unlike anything she had ever seen, a grotesque fusion of limbs and teeth, eyes aflame with a greedy hunger that pierced the dimness. "Keep moving," Thorn shouted again, pulling her closer as he led the way. The ground was uneven, broken, and menacing. As they navigated the shifting terrain, panic threatened to swallow Lisa whole. She desperately grasped the charm around her neck, its warmth a small reprieve against the cold dread creeping through her veins. Each time the beast roared, its breath hit the back of her neck, chilling her to the bone. "Look," Thorn's voice broke through the chaos. He pointed toward a speck of light in the distance, but the path ahead was full of treacherous obstacles. "We have to reach it." They surged forward, fear giving them a fleeting boost. But the shadows clawed at them, pulling at her clothes and ensnaring her legs. "Don't let go, Thorn," she shouted, panic-stricken. With a powerful pull, he yanked her free, but the darkness was relentless. Fear twisted in her gut, raw and animalistic. "They're trying to pull me back," she gasped, breathless. "Just hold on to me. Don't look back." Thorn's eyes were wide, but his grip was steady, anchoring her in that moment of complete despair. As they tore through the shadows, the creature let out a scream that reverberated through the ground, shaking the very foundation beneath them. The world felt as if it were splintering apart. They were ramping up a fight for their lives, and dread washed over Lisa as reality screamed at her to wake up. Yet she knew this was no dream, it was a nightmare clawing for her soul. "Lisa," a voice hissed, slicing through the turmoil. Mia's face flared in the chaos again, the shadows shifting to form her familiar features. "Join us, we're waiting for you." The sight set fire to Lisa's fear. "No, I want tea," she screamed, fueled by rage and grief. "You're not my sister. You're just another lie." Mia's silhouette flickered, already beginning to fade, replaced by the dark, twisted mass that seemed to feast on her struggle. "Come back," the voice taunted, and her sister's eyes shone with dreadful allure. Every instinct in Lisa screamed for her to turn and fight, yet the growing dread rooted her to the ground. Thorn's grip tightened around her wrist, pulling her toward the glimmer of light ahead. Just a little further. But as they sprinted, the shadows shifted again, rising like a tidal wave. The beast's growl echoed a chilling promise of how it would consume them whole. Suddenly, the ground gave way beneath her feet. With a yelp, Lisa toppled, Thorn's shouts muffled by the dark chaos. Black tendrils sprang forth, wrapping around her waist. The light glimmered above, teasingly close, while the shadows threatened to sink her down into the dark oblivion. "Thorn!" Her voice splintered into a scream as the darkness pulled hard, dragging her deeper into its cold grasp. "I'll get you." Thorn's desperate voice broke through the noise, but his outline was already fading. "I want to leave you." The shadows clawed at her, the whispers rising, growing chaotic. "Join us, we need you," and just as the abyss yawned wider, threatening to swallow her whole, Thorn's silhouette surged into view, amplified by the light behind him, a last flicker of hope. "Hold on, I'm coming," he roared, battling through the shadowy maze. But with each step the darkness clamored back, pressing in with an insatiable will. In that moment, Lisa wondered if she would be the last to fall. Would she join the dark embrace or claw back into the light? Then she met Thorn's gaze, and she realized it didn't just threaten her life. It threatened everything, every breath, every trust, every whisper. Would they be strong enough to wrestle their way out? Or was it too late? As the ground trembled beneath them, the shadows writhed in fury. And then came that chilling voice again, echoing through the air thick as fog. "Welcome home." Lisa, the depths of terror surged as she hung between the light and the black void. What awaited them in the endless darkness? Would their fight lead to salvation, or would they both be consumed? Lisa felt herself slipping, the shadows' grip tightening around her as she dangled on the edge of oblivion. Every heartbeat reverberated in her skull like an alarm bell, screaming at her to fight back. She clawed at the air, sensing Thorn nearby, his determination pulsing like a beacon of light in the suffocating dark. "Let go, Lisa. Trust me." His voice sliced through the chaos, fueled with raw urgency. But how could she trust anything here? The darkness whispered sweetly, beckoning her with promises of relief. "Join us, you belong." The voices surged, clamoring for her, wrapping around her like shackles. Lisa's breath quickened. She squeezed Thorn's hand, fighting against the rising tide of despair. "I want to give up." With renewed vigor, she twisted her body, fighting against the unseen force dragging her down. She felt the charm at her neck pressing against her skin, its warmth igniting a blaze of defiance. "Thorn, I can't hold on forever." "Then don't. Trust me." His eyes shimmered with a desperate resolve that pulled her back from the void. In one explosive moment, he surged forward, arms outstretched. In that fleeting instant, they locked eyes, sharing a bond that felt unbreakable even in the face of such terror. Thorn's grip tightened, and with a mighty yank, he pulled her up, freeing her from the darkest clutches. But the beast behind them roared an infernal sound that shook the very earth. Its eyes blazed brighter, summoning the shadows like a master puppeteer. The ground beneath their feet trembled, cracking wide as fissures opened in reaction to the wrathful beast. They stumbled forward, skidding on the unstable surface. Lisa felt the thrill of adrenaline rush through her veins, propelling her feet faster. The light ahead pulsed, flickering like a heartbeat. "We have to reach it." But the path was fracturing. Strands of darkness reached out like fingers, desperate to reclaim them. They raced toward the light, but the beast let out a guttural growl that reverberated through Lisa's bones. The shadows swam around her, clawing, slapping, demanding her return to the darkness. "Lisa," Thorn barked, pushing her ahead. "Run." But she couldn't. Her feet were stuck in a thick, tar-like substance, a viscous reminder of the power pressing around them. She spotted flickers of movements in the shadows. Faces twisted with despair. "It's not real. They're not real," she screamed, shaking her head violently, trying to shake the visions out of her mind. "Fight it, Lisa." Thorn's voice blended with the whispers of the shadowy chaos, their essence both urging and choking her. But then there it was again. Mia's face flickering in and out of existence, taunting her once more. "Come home, Lisa, we're waiting." The rage ignited within her. "You left me," she bellowed. "You aren't my sister. You're just lost." Thorn turned, defiance lighting his face. "She's gone, Lisa. Fight back." In the heart of her terror, Lisa discovered strength. A pulse of energy permeated her very being, lifting the weight of despair. She yanked her foot free and swept toward Thorn, who held his hand like a lifeline. With terrifying resolve, she took his hand, and together, they hurled themselves toward the light as the shadows raged behind. "Don't look back," Thorn urged as they lunged forward. The light swallowed them, blinding and wholesome against the encroaching night. But when Lisa opened her eyes, she found herself in a chilling void. No warmth, no security, only the oppressive darkness hanging around her like fog. The light had vanished, leaving them adrift in an endless night where the only sound was the low, unnerving whisper of the shadows, growing closer by the second. "Where are we?" Lisa gasped, heart pounding, panic creeping into her voice. Thorn looked around, eyes narrowing. "I don't know, but we can't stay here." Before they could think, the darkness descended like a weight. The shadows that once clawed at her now enveloped them, suffocating and omnipresent, each whisper like a dagger. "Welcome back," the voice hissed, a familiar echo that stole the breath from her lungs. Suddenly, a path sliced through the void, illuminated by a sinister glow. Lisa glanced up, heart racing. Shadows writhed around it in frenzy. Should they risk it? What if it led them deeper into horror? "Should we go?" Lisa asked, dread pooling at the bottom of her stomach. Thorn hesitated, a bead of sweat trickling down his temple. The laughter from the shadows rang louder, alive with malevolence. "Do we have a choice?" he whispered, tightening his grip. And as they took one uncertain step toward the glow, the shadows drew closer, hungry for their return. The path shimmered ominously, the glow pulsating like a heartbeat of a dying star. With each step, the whispers grew more insistent, clawing at Lisa's resolve. Sweat dripped from her brow, the oppressive weight of foreboding creeping into her mind. Did the shadows tempt them with promises of refuge, or were they leading them to the brink of madness? "Let us get moving," Thorn said, his voice steady but laced with uncertainty. He took a step forward, leading the way as the glow flickered dangerously. Lisa followed, her heart thrumming loudly in her chest, each beat a reminder of what hung in the balance. The further they advanced, the tighter the air became, stifling and thick, closing in around them. Shadows shifted along the walls of the path, twisting and morphing into midnight figures with eyes that glinted like knives. Lisa's breath quickened, trapped in a cycle of panic and the desperate urge for escape. "Don't look at them," Thorn barked, yanking her away from a shadow coiling near her side. "They feed on fear." "Easier said than done," Lisa shot back, her voice a whisper barely piercing the overwhelming hush. The world beyond the glow threatened to devour her, the weight of unseen eyes following their every move. Just when she thought they might escape, doubt gnawed at her. The shadows seemed to breathe heavier. Almost impatient to sudden sound, a low growl echoed from behind them, wrapping itself around her heart like a vice. Panic surged, and Lisa broke into a sprint. "Keep going," she yelled, adrenaline fueling her sprint to the glow that now shimmered with unearthly intensity. As they dashed forward, the shadows writhed angrily, transforming into whirlpools of despair. Lisa felt them tugging at her, as if trying to drag her back to the dark. "Thorn, I can't hold it," she screamed, fear choking the air from her lungs. "Fight it," he yelled back, but his confidence was slipping. The shadows translated his words into cruel laughter, filling the corridor with mockery. Terror washed over Lisa, and she could almost see Mia's face, golden hair flowing a beacon of hope drowned by the might of despair. "Stop!" The voice rang out, crystalline and commanding. The glow flickered ominously at the sound, and in an instant, the shadows froze. "You're not meant to be here," it continued, low and throaty. Lisa and Thorn skidded to a halt, hearts in their throats. A figure emerged from the depths of the glow, their outline stark against the swirling darkness. It was clad in tattered robes, skin pale as the moonlight. As it stepped closer, an eerie calm fell around them, the shadows hesitating. "Who are you?" Thorn demanded, voice trembling slightly. "I am a keeper of souls lost in despair," the figure replied, its voice icy yet oddly soothing. "You have ventured too deep. The shadows crave what you bring, your hopes. Your fears, let them go." Lisa shouted, emboldened by fury and fear. "They're not yours." The figure tilted its head, an amusement flickering in its empty gaze. "They are lost, just like you. But I can grant you one wish if you surrender to the darkness." Silence clung to the air, thick and heavy. The offer hung between them, tempting and dangerous like a sharp edge of a knife. "What wish?" Thorn asked, suspicion coating his words. "Return, or gain what you seek." The Shadow Keeper's eyes flickered, revealing glimpses of all they had lost and the damned moments they had brushed against in the dark. Lisa's heart raced. "Don't listen to it," she shouted, faced with a choice that felt as heavy as a tombstone. "We can fight this." But the allure resonated deep within her, calling out to fears she couldn't name. The shadows began to stir again as doubt crept in. "What's the cost?" She hesitated, her voice uneven. An unsettling grin crept across the keeper's face, illuminating the darkness around it. Everything. The shadows began to surge forward once again, like a tide intent on drowning them. With the ominous derision of the voices swirling, and a choice between sacrificing everything or facing the consuming shadow, Lisa and Thorn stood, hearts pounding, ready to confront the horrors lurking ahead. Would they trust each other enough to escape, or would they fall victim to the shadow's grim embrace? As the shadows surged, hungry for their despair, Lisa took a step back, gripping Thorn's hand tighter. "No," she screamed, defiance rising in her chest like a roaring fire. "We won't give in." The Shadow Keeper sneered, an unsettling sound that rumbled through the air. "Such brave souls," it mocked. "But bravery won't save you. Do you truly understand what lies ahead?" Thorn's eyes burned with determination. "We won't let you take anything from us," he shouted, his voice a lifeline slicing through the gloom. With that, Lisa felt a surge of strength pulsing from their connected hands. The Keeper faltered, eyes narrowing as the shadows threatened to wash over them, a swirling whirlpool of despair beckoning them to succumb. "You have a choice," it hissed, taunting. "Join me, and I shall spare you. Let your fears loose." "Join you? You're a lie?" Lisa shot back, feeling fierce and unyielding. "We'll fight for them." The words felt more potent than any weapon, a clean blade against the darkness creeping into her heart. Suddenly, a flicker of familiarity danced at the edges of their minds. The faces of the townsfolk, twisted and lost, but ignited with a flicker of hope. "We are not here alone," Thorn whispered, glancing at her, realization dawning in their eyes. They could not just stand and fight. They needed to bring everyone together. "Listen," Lisa called out, her voice rising above the chaos. "We came here together. We can take back what is ours. Release the lost souls with us." In that moment, shadows intertwined, faces both familiar and foreign emerging from the depths. "We hear you," a chorus whispered, a haunting melody that teetered on the edge of hope and despair. They needed each other. With newfound energy, Lisa and Thorn pushed toward the creature, their hands clasped, merging their powers. The shadows recoiled, whispering bitterly, but could not withstand their combined light. "We demand," Lisa started, her voice a powerful incantation that rang through the void. "To reclaim our stories, our lives." The Shadow Keeper scowled as the darkness twisted around, seemingly shocked by the resonance of their combined might. They surged forth with a surge of resistance, pushing back against the tidal wave of fear. Every scream from the throng of trapped souls drove them onward, a primal urging to break free. "Enough," roared the Keeper, but it was too late. The combined energy of the souls, of love, fear, and hope intertwined, illuminated the darkness. That dim light solidified into a beacon, unveiling a path leading toward the hollowed heart of the keeper. Together, Thorn shouted, and in that instant, they became a force of will united against the shadows. Lisa felt a warmth engulf her, pushing the darkness away, forcing it to retreat. The keeper's form flickered, each moment more unstable, caught between the concrete grip of their bond and the disarray of the shadowed realm. No, it screamed, the ground trembling as the essence of darkness hissed back, but the light burned brighter. Rooted in their conviction, they thrust forward, a whirlwind of light shattering the shadows. Wind swirled around them as their energy released teasing tendrils of golden light, wrapping around every lost soul and drawing them forth. Faces once twisted by anguish glowed with redemption, their very essence merging with Lisa and Thorn, amplifying their light. Freedom echoed through the air, resounding in the mountains, encircling the realm of shadows where despair had long threatened. The keeper howled in agony, engulfed in the light, its form fracturing, the shadows recoiling in fear. "I will not," it shrieked. But then light erupted, and the keeper disintegrated, shadows collapsing into nothingness. As the storm subsided, Lisa blinked against the brightness, feeling the presence of the lost souls surging around her, their relief palpable. She turned to Thorn, seeing the warmth in his eyes sparkle not just for victory, but for a shared journey, intertwined by fate. "We did it," she whispered, breathless. The ache in her heart lightened, clarity returning, tethering her to the here and now. "Together," Thorn replied, offering a smile that felt like home. The air shimmered around them, remnants of shadows dissipating. They had escaped, not just themselves, but every soul weighed down by despair. In time, they found themselves standing back outside the cabin, the sun rising over the Appalachian Mountains, spilling gold across the skies. The cabin appeared no different, yet they knew the horror had faded. The cursed place had lost its power. As a faint memory of fearful whispers lingered behind them, a light wind brushed through the trees, gentle and warm like a promise of hope. "Would it be weird," Thorn began, laughter tracing his tone, "if I asked to get coffee and talk about something normal?" Lisa smiled, tears of joy glistening. "I think it'd be the best thing ever." Together, they walked away from the haunting shadows of the past, the promise of a brighter future lifting their spirits. As they reached the road, Lisa looked back one last time, heart full. Freedom reigned not just from the cabin but within, from the shadows once ruling her spirit. Life was no longer a battle against hunger, but a testament to resilience, a bold declaration of love and hope. And though the mountain might hold old secrets, they'd never hold sway over her again. Now, before you go, listen up. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now, it really helps us feed the algorithm and keeps the magic alive. And flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. Don't wait even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Your voice matters. Your likes matter. Be part of the journey.